Gil Abernathy from Bullseye Personal Finance, and I'm going to have you take it away.
Thank you. Well, it's nice to see a wholly familiar face, so this is a friendly room, I hope. But yeah, today we're going to try to cover a broad topic of things. We're going to touch base, sort of, there won't be any deep dive on anything in particular. It is a small group, so we'll leave, room afterwards for any conversations or anything that you may need a little bit more information on. Okay. Just to give you a background of myself, I've been involved with the startup of over 10,000 new businesses, and we've had some major hits, and we've also had some hits where people were able to save for their retirement, they were able to put kids through college. Most of the businesses that I have helped form have been in the service industry. Although much of my background when I first got out of school in 1981 was dealing with very large manufacturing companies at the time. So I've got a Big Four CPA background. I've been an entrepreneur several times. I've worked for companies that were high growth as a controller, CFO, and primarily spend a lot of time right now in the wealth and retirement space. I've got a BS in accounting and a master's in applied technology and entrepreneurship. Good. Question for everybody here: Why are successful entrepreneurs self-employed?
For me, it's because I like the freedom.
They want freedom. Can you tap that on for a second?
I think it's going to be login. Oh,
here we go.
Oh,
Yeah, you can just close exit. Just exit.
Okay.
There you go. And then put that sound up.
Yeah.
The number one reason I see people fail is because they don't believe in themselves. But when you look at your career, you've done every death-defying stunt imaginable. What was your perspective on fear and taking risks? Do you not fear anything?
It's not a matter. I don't mind being afraid. I know fear is the unknown, and I enjoy feeling that because it also puts me in a position of I want to know. And the way that I approach it is just, as I said, I look for knowledge that I can apply. And when it's applied, you get the correct results. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of everything in my life. And I'm someone who, if it's not true for me, it's not true for me. If something isn't real for me, no matter what, I have to know and experience it and understand it for myself. And when I do that, the fear goes away, the adrenaline is still there, the excitement, the adventure. I want an adventurous life. I want it. I like adventure. I like exploring things that, you look at the aerial stuff that we were talking about here earlier, when we're doing stuff like this, it's like how to figure out how to do something like this. How do we get to this? So the amount
This is you getting off a plane.
Oh yeah, it is. And the amount of knowledge that we needed to know just to be able to get this shot. I'm an aerobatic pilot. I fly airplanes. I fly this airplane. I fly it in all different maneuvers. It's what piece of equipment to get this shot. So we had to understand the different camera equipment. We developed camera equipment and technology just to get this, the speed at which this aircraft is traveling. And I also have to understand what the pilot knows. Because I'm a pilot, I know the dangers and where we're getting this aircraft to a stall. So when I'm here,
Hold on.
Oh, just hit escape.
I hit escape.
It's going to be stubborn.
There it is. Okay.
Okay. All right. Anybody see what just happened on that? What did you see in that video?
That I saw a well-known actor telling us about things that are real. Knowledge is power.
Fear is the lack of knowledge, and once you get the knowledge, you won't have fear.
Somewhere along the lines, Tom Cruise was not allowed to be ambitious. Might have been a kid like this. And it just impacted him because he wanted to be. He wanted to try things. And I'm pretty sure his teachers didn't approve, his parents didn't approve, anything. Most people that are high achievers, 95% of them are doing it to compensate for something that happened earlier. Then you've got the other ones that are just inspired. He's probably, what he shared there is probably correct now. He just wants to live a certain life. Did you notice all of a sudden he did this and he went over to the plane? Well, there was a little white thing in his ear, and his accountant was saying, please go over and show him the plane. And you say, why is the accountant? He's writing off his plane. He's writing off the flying of his plane. He's right because he needed to get the shot. You ever see that? See how that's what part of good tax advisory is helping people do things that, number one, they like to do. That was always the big deal with the IRS, is they didn't think you could like what you did for a living. And they used to argue about all sorts of things. He happens to be an artist, so the tax code as it relates to artists is unbelievable what you can write off. But the point of it is he's writing off his passion. Okay? What a great way for him. It's probably taken 50% off the cost of it. It's a big deal, right? So he doesn't separate his passion from his work. That has pluses and minuses, but so in this, we're doing the same thing. If you're a certain type of person, when I say self, you might like to teach, right? You might teach even if you weren't getting paid for it, right? But what if you needed a write-off, right? You would do something you would do anyway, only now it becomes part of what you do professionally. Major concept when you're building a business is integrating your life with your business. Go ahead. So pay yourself first. Other reasons, quality of life. Okay, some people would even say life itself. I was a member of the Rotary many years ago, and a guy came, he had achieved everything that you could imagine, and I asked him, I said, why did you go into business for yourself? He said, nobody else would hire him. His wife had MS, he had to go home in the middle of the day. This is a much older person than anybody in this room. And it just, in that period of time, nobody would hire somebody like that. It just wasn't acceptable. And so he had to create his own company where he could take care of his wife and live the lifestyle. But you have wages, operating income, there's all sorts of financial things that come. You have distributions that how many people have an S Corp? Okay, distributions from your S Corp, capital gains. You sell a company upon retirement, you'll have capital gains. There's a number of financial reasons, the cash flow reasons that people do. Freedom and cash flow. Go ahead. Most people go out and you get a standard set of services, tax returns, financial statements, maybe your business is audited or reviewed, and there's a bunch of notes to the financial statement. Go ahead. You can go to the next one, and the next one. So we get our standard thing. On financial disclosures, an important thing, like if you were actually getting audited, there's things that are supposed to be disclosed. If more than 10% of your business is coming from any sector, you're supposed to list it as a note. Because it also tells you may not be as diverse. So it's a concern financially going forward. But there's a lot of things that CPAs, when you be audited, would actually include in a financial statement. Most entrepreneurs don't get any of these services anymore. They kind of died with manufacturing, but there are major companies that have to have this stuff done. Most people need this CPA services mainly for tax, financial statement reporting, but then there's CFO. We do a lot of fractional CFO work. There's other things you can get once you get basic information down, like you've got your cash flow, your balance sheet, your profit and loss. But there's things that when you look at what a CFO can do, they can really have a compelling financial mission. You know, you may have your business mission, you want to do certain things. CPAs can CFOs can take that data that you have and craft a compensation plan. A very successful travel company I once worked for, they had the main compensation plan was a pooled thing. So as reservationists hit a certain level, they'd all get in this pool and they'd split a commission evenly. It was a good way to create more of a team, and then compensate people that were more advanced than maybe some new people coming in. What was missing for that company is there wasn't incentives for people to go above a certain standard. So what we did is we started offering individual comp on top of that. Some people wouldn't want to try anything new because it would just, you know, if we were doing all St. Bart's, they wouldn't want to go and do St. Martin because it took a lot of effort. So we compensated those people as group team leaders and offered an incentive. CVP is fancy for saying break-even analysis. Okay, there's a lot of different things, but you have to have that basic financial. Florida's an interesting spot. If you were back up in New England or up in Chicago or New York or California, everybody gets their financials done. They have a budget. They compare them to down in Florida. Most people get them done, but they only look at their tax return. Go ahead. If you don't, you know, we all talk about AI, but if you don't know BI, then you'll never know AI. And BI is just business intelligence. If you don't have numbers to back, you know, how much is it costing you to get a new client? How much is it costing? Then AI, you know, maybe there could be some applications in there, but the more you get from your financial data, and I don't care what it is, what stage it's in, it could be startup stage, it could be at the beginning, a financial statement says a lot. Good. Some advanced tax strategies that we employ for clients. We've got this, unfortunately, I am so meticulous on this book, I can't get it out in time. I'm hoping to get it out by November, but we do have a retirement guide, but we're also coming up with a Blue Destinations Guide to Tax, Smart Strategies for Life, Business, and Retirement. Again, stop separating all of those. They're one and the same. Now, I didn't go to that location for 6 weeks or 6 months to write the book, but I could have. You should. Then you wouldn't be able to have it.
I'm booking you a flight.
So good. Some of the big rocks on the new, the One Big Beautiful bill that was just passed, is it made the cuts permanent. So there was a massive amount of tax cuts back, I think it was 2017, that were due to expire. And so the one thing that the new bill did is it did make cuts permanent. So those are not expiring now. They are built into the law until the law changes again. But a big item is bonus depreciation that went up to 100%. Bonus depreciation is great if you're buying real estate, you know, non-residential but commercial. Because you could go in and anything that was under 20-year property, you could expense it. And I've got a client who bought a pretty sizable operation. We went in and looked at it, and there was he bought a building, a couple $1 million, and there was $400,000 of parking lots, stuff like that. We were able to write it off immediately against his taxes because of bonus depreciation. It started slipping off, and it was meant to go away, but they made that permanent. Estate exemption. So you've got $2 million in stocks. Okay, you only paid $300,000 for. All right, you got a $1.7 million gain, unrealized gain. How much tax does she pay on that? On the unrealized gain?
Normally 15%.
What?
Normally 15%.
Nothing, because it's unrealized.
Right.
Okay.
It has paid, yeah.
Yeah, so you have it. even if you borrowed, what if she borrowed $600,000 against that value of the stock? How much tax does she pay? Nothing, because you borrowed it, you didn't sell it. It's still unrecognized. In estate exemption, if you were to hold on to those shares and pass away, you'd be giving them to your beneficiary. How much tax would she have to pay then if that was her entire net worth?
That's what, 15?
Zero.
Now 0.
Yeah. Well, it would have went, that number that it was roughly about 15 million was going back down to about 7 million. All right, so it's a big deal for there are quite a few people in that. But do you see that she could have paid no tax at all if it went to the beneficiaries? The difficulty is managing that in later years, okay? Because most people start selling it at the wrong time because they have to. But the ability to use estate taxes is incredible because it allows really people to not pay tax at all up to $15 million per person. All right, so if a husband and a wife were to pass away, that's 30 million. So it's a way of transferring wealth over it. It used to be much lower than that, and you'd have to pay a tax rate of like 70%, not the rates that we have today. 529 plans, I want everybody to look at this. This is kind of going along the lines. You're able to save money now. They raise the amount that you could take out of a 529. 529 is a plan you put money into this, it earns money, it's tax-free so long as you use it for education, okay? You can also convert it into a Roth, okay? So a lot of you would be hearing that a lot recently where it's really just an incredible tax strategy. But what they've done now is it allows you to take 20 grand out a year to pay for schooling, whether that's public, whether it's private. It also allows you to take that out. A big trend that's going to come, people may not be going to school. I wouldn't be shocked to see, half the enrollment in colleges go away. But it allows you to get certified and trained. It also allows, if your child has disabilities, to put that towards tutoring. So it's a great, powerful tool. They've only added to it. No tax on Social Security for some. This year you'll be able to deduct, depending on your income. How many people are devoid of information they've seen on a lot of these things? The only reason why people aren't sharing it so much is that you get this if your income is this. Like there's all of these other things that attach to it, but for the most part, they didn't make Social Security income not taxable. They did sweeten it with a $12,000 write-off on a married filing joint return. No tax on tips. Here's another one up to $25,000. Mainly will apply to restaurant workers. The irony about that is, I think a lot of people in the restaurant business were paying taxes on their restaurant, but a lot of the tip income has probably not been reported, so this will encourage people to report it. There is now something called a Trump account where you would actually get $1,000 if you have a kid. I've asked my wife about this. She says it's going to have to be a lot more than $1,000 to have any more children at this point. But it would be an account, and then money can be accumulated tax-free. But so if there is a child born, they will get an account that's $1,000. Starts off. Dependent care expenses went up to $7,500. Child credit increased a little bit. Now I want you to take a look at this. This is something we'll be seeing a lot more. We're going to go into it on the next slide, I believe. So there's all of these investments that there's lots of investments. You have cash, annuities, you can invest in your career, your estate, your business, your real estate stocks, retirement accounts. We'll take a little do a little deep dive on the business aspects on here. That's where a lot of people create most of their wealth. It's either in business or they're investing in, in the market as an employee in a 401k plan. Go ahead. All right, so LLCS Corps is a great option. I had just to show you the explosiveness of stuff, I had a doctor who was in residency that gave me a call and said he needs my help. He's still in residency, but he's got 1 million followers on YouTube. And it's starting to create, it's starting to get monetized. And he's like, never did I realize what to do. But he's also got all of these student loans for the medical. So he's concerned, he's getting married, he's concerned about, if his income is so high, what will happen is his payments will be high for paying back his student loans. If they're lower, so a lot of couples will file separately. It's unusual, but so they lose $3,000 on their taxes. He knows that he's going to be a doctor in the public sector for a period of time. His other business is tech and more marketing. So a strategy for him is to put the business in a C Corp, not an S Corp, because then that income wouldn't go to his personal return. Okay, it stays in the company. Now that used to not be a good idea, but the corporate tax rate is down to 23% now. It's not 40% like it was back in 2017. So there's all sorts of different strategies. Section 1202 stock. If you are going into a business where you're creating something, it could be software, it could be AI, it could be manufacturing of a product. Section 1202 says is that if you hold on to that company and you do it in a C company and you sell it, you can exclude up to $15 million of income on the sale. I mean, we all know that the 1202, they're going to do those data centers structured this way. There is no doubt about it. You can see that. But there's other service businesses that this applies to. Section 1245 is if you started a company, built it up to a substantial amount of gain, you're able to roll it over into a stock market without paying taxes on it. Section 1244 stock is if you have a company and anybody ever see something they've been approached to and it's a risky thing, it could either be a grand slam or it could go right down the tubes. Anybody ever, folks see that all the time. Section 1244 stock works because what this says is that if you put money into it, you can write, instead of writing $3,000 a year off of your taxes when you sell, if you sell something at a loss, this one allows you to write off $100,000 all at once. So it's another strategy that people use. Private endowments and foundations. I just did one for a very small, on the smaller level. I mean, after a lot of stuff that's happening, a lot of people want to get. Everybody's got a voice now. You may not want to hear it, but everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a voice. But somebody's IRA money, he's got a pretty sizable IRA RMD coming. Everybody know what an RMD is? No. Okay, an RMD is at 73 years of age. If you've got money in a 401k or an IRA, you're going to have to start paying yourself some of that. Generally works at about 4 to 5% of whatever the value is, and that has to come into your income. Well, this person, what we did instead is something called a qualified charitable distribution. So what we did is I said, why don't we just set you up on a non-profit of your own or a foundation, and we'll have the IRA money go into that. Anybody know the advantage of that?
It still stays within that person's world.
Yeah, so a little bit, technically it's out of your control at that point, but it's, you can sit on the board of a nonprofit. It is an advantage, and then, because he's got a lot of things that he'd like to do, what's the other advantage?
Most of it's not taxable.
It's not taxable. So basically, he got the deduction putting it in, he accumulated all this money without having to pay tax. Now they don't pay tax. If you divided all the things, let's say I couldn't get you to enmesh the business with your personal life, because that's a big way of getting tax deduction. Then you have this concept, well, that's all personal, Bill, and then this is business, right? So let's go look at the personal and ask yourself, what part of this is nonprofit? Well, it's all nonprofit, but do you have a nonprofit entity? Okay, and a lot of things get started that way. Somebody's out and something horrible happened to them, or they just see something that they're so compelled to want to do, they'll just start spending all sorts of time doing it, not realizing it could be done in a nonprofit entity. And it just happens that way. But these are important ways. So when you go to set up an entity, it's not the same anymore. How many people go on set up an S corp and then now they find out, oh my God, I can't go on Social Security early. Okay, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to go over the income limit. S corp profit isn't considered earned income for that. Isn't. So it doesn't really come into play. The only thing that's going to come into play is the wages. Now, if the S corp profit is owned by you and there's $1 million profit, that's not going to slide. I don't care any kind of size of a profit, it's going to make your Social Security, you have to pay it back if you go over a certain. But an S corp is a tool for that. There is nothing that's operating in a blind state anymore. I mean, there's no one size fits all. A lot of people still may show up as an S corp. People make mistakes in Florida in that they'll put properties into S corps. It's not a good idea. But it's possible to get it out of Florida. But these are just a bunch of things. This time of year, this is my busiest time of year because I have to do tax planning. Certainly there's sometimes we can do something in January for the prior year. There's with retirement accounts, we can do that. There's solo retirement accounts. There's pension plans. We put in 6 pension plans. IRA money, 401k, maximizing 401k. But this is a planning season. You want to make sure people have the taxes paid in. They're not getting any penalties. The IRS is not very easy to work with right now, FYI. And listen, they're being gutted, and then they're, and the only system that they have that's up to date is their collection system. Okay, and I'm telling you, oh, you don't have time to process an extension on one department because it had to be mailed in? All right, we're still sending you a notice. You owe us all this money. It's happening all over the place. I'm not blaming any one thing. I'm just trying to let people know that planning is even more essential now. Sometimes I take a situation, I'm like, okay, I got to get the IRS their money out of this. You've got to serve the client. You got to do this. You just have to figure out a way to talk to somebody who doesn't even know what they're doing. Much of it is falling on our shoulders. And everybody says, it's great that they don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, no, because nothing can get resolved. It's not great. Good. These are just things that we do at particular points in time. Next one. Next one. Bunch of different types of things we do, Roth conversions, LLC and other entity startups. Solo 401ks are incredible for saving money. A lot of people, after they turn 50 years old, are getting paid by 1099. It's all a good thing. because you can basically go in and create your own S Corp. You can also put your own benefits in play. You may not need insurance because another spouse might have it. You may need a particular type insurance. You may want to set up a 401k. All these different things you do. What time is it?
It's 9:11.
It is. Go to the next slide. One of the things I'd love to come back on from a business standpoint is that what we tend to do is if we take one of those CFO things that you do is a break-even analysis. And that is getting a client to look at what they do and then ask themselves, if I do this one thing, how much revenue does that tend to generate? What's the cost of generating that revenue? Let's go to the next. This is what we do with a break-even analysis. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so basically, let's say somebody had $100,000 of fixed costs, and their average sale price was $400, and it cost them $160 to deliver it, and you wanted to make $150,000 profit. Go to the next slide. This would say that in order to break even, you need to do 417 of X. Could anybody here identify what's the one thing that you do? If you could put a label on the one thing.
I sell my time.
Okay, so you sell your time. So you're a console. Okay. So basically for each, and you have ongoing relationships and new ones. Okay, so it's important to try to break it down to say, okay, I've had 63 consults this year, it's generated X number of dollars. And then look at that. So at least you know when you're working with our friend here, you know what type of marketing you're trying to do because you're looking to draw one thing in. This allows you to break it down. So if you wanted to make 150,000, okay, it says here that you would need to do $166,000 in sales in order to do it. If, you know, and this would be your target profit analysis, and that would be your target sales. I'm sorry, if you wanted to make the 150, this would be your break-even point. What it allows you to do sometimes is, sometimes people's pricing models are off. I've seen people that have no business coming in, and they're like, it's pricing, and I'm like, it's not pricing. You might deal with this one. Listen, I heard of this one person that's selling it for 800. I don't know why I'm doing it for 100. I said, because they've got a long line and you don't. I said, it's also sometimes it's an indicator they don't really like what they do. You'd probably be out doing it for nothing if you really like it, until you get, until you got busy. People look back in the old days and say, oh, it was great, I used to be able to call you. But this allows you to say, is your price right? Maybe it's too much. Maybe it's too little. There's times it is too little. I had a client that called the other, a new client that called the other day and was thinking that it was going to be this giant fee. And that got me to think about pricing, but we do a lot of different things. But most of it's a la carte, okay? Don't get frustrated if we do one thing like a tax return and then, and a year and a half later I'm saying, I think you ought to try this one thing. And a client said, well, what is that? And I said, this is what it is. You explain to them all the technical stuff. This is $15,000 for $500. Are you interested in it? Those are the easiest things. So, yeah, I think I'm interested in that. But we tend to work, and one of the things that have any of you guys seen that School of Mentors, the work they're doing? Every paradigm that I've ever grown up with is switching. Okay, the bigger the player says, be a friend with your client. closer. You know, learn everything about them. Learn about this. Learn the simplest level. I think Kayla, I told you the story about. I had a client. It was a little incestuous. It was my daughter's boyfriend. Father's company, and it became the boyfriend's company. But then it became my daughter's ex-boyfriend's company. So you sometimes you're learning too much about a business. But I said, Cherie, I said, this is going to shock you, but you got $2,000 to put into an IRA, and because it's going to save you $1,900. It's very unusual. There was a tax credit. It was saving her on Obamacare at the level of income she was at, and the deduction itself. And I said, even if you put the money in and took it out, you're going to net $1,000. You know, is that worth it? She says, Gil, she goes, that sounds great. I just don't have $2,000 right now. I said, yes, you do. She goes, do you know something I don't know? I said, yeah, you're getting married on Saturday. And it's before the due date. There's not a client we don't have at whatever position that we don't look at things to the nth degree. You don't gloss it over if the numbers are bigger. Sometimes bigger numbers are a bigger headache, you know. But in that event, she asked her husband. He said, yeah, of course. She put the money in and she got this great tax break. But the point of it is if you don't know the client, you don't know the person. Anybody ever had like a client who's like your complete opposite and gives you tons of money? Like these are like the biggest clients you get. That's because they have problems only you can solve, right? So you're like, oh, I'm never gonna take this person on again. They're too much of a pain. Lo and behold, somebody comes in. Most of those times, those clients don't tell you what the problem is. That's the frustrating part about them. But the truth of the matter is people come to you, they'll get closer with you because they like you. They'll get closer with you because you're the only darn person who can fix the problem they have. And it may not be an attraction based on likability, but maybe respect in the way you handle certain things. But the more you get to know a client, the better. Go ahead. But any questions? They could be personal, it could be general, they can be an opinion. Everybody's got one.
There was one word I didn't understand. ABC.
Yeah, I didn't know what the.
What's that?
There was something like ABC.
Oh, okay. ABC. Okay, I'm glad you guys like it. That's one of the most.
Always be closing. No?
Yeah, no, it's not even.
That's good.
Always be closing. I missed the sign that you were interested in. I can't be doing that. It's called activity-based costing. It's beautiful.
Okay.
So if you can figure the one activity that you can do, then we can align the traditional profit and loss tells you nothing. You can't make a decision off it. Maybe globally you're building up a new business. Okay, our profit is this, our loss is that. We're gonna. But the more you want to analyze when you meet up with Barack, I mean, it's where you're getting IT work done. You got to know what that one thing is that you do. So the one thing would say, okay, we deliver a consulting thing. Okay, so then what you would do is you would break it down to how much does it cost you to market for that? How much does it cost you to onboard the client for that? How much does it cost you to do this? And what that information does is it shows you where your bottleneck is. It shows you where you're spending all the money. A lot of times people don't even know what the one thing they do is. It's very common. Because it's common to, listen, you get involved with these clients, you're doing a little bit of everything, but it all kind of centers on a couple of things if you didn't have that original consult relationship. So ABC costing is very advanced. So few people even do it because people think it doesn't apply to a service business. It applies to a service business.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would ask how, because I know she's up the same show that I do. I can't put, a consult on a template. Never happens. Every single business we meet with is completely different from every other business, even if they're in the same business. They all have different problems, and we end up building a custom solution every time on a custom quote.
Yeah, but you can put it under a certain category or something like that.
Well,
I do also
it's,
custom.
you know,
but,
well, yeah, but I'm saying, you know, say, okay, it costs me this much to onboard based on the amount of time I will spend with it. But
different.
what I get back is going to be completely different every time, you know.
Well, okay, and I'll tell you something. I worked for major companies in the tax space. I learned more about my wife opening up a daycare center. I walked out of there, and some people walked out of there with certain types of things. We learned so much about a particular business. But the thing you have to watch out for, so mine would be time. Clock goes on. 1 year you spend X number of hours with your client, even if it's something simple like a tax return. They get a bill.
Right.
The next year could be a little bit less. Maybe the next year we're talking about something else. We charge you that. Then I went and worked for a firm for 10 years that sold a tax return for $69. Okay, everything was the same in their eyes. You know what? I learned a lot from them.
Okay.
Because as unique as everything is, you could probably put something in the middle and say, this is what it's gonna be. Okay? Doesn't mean you don't spend more time on one. Sometimes you don't have to spend much time at all. You're clicking like that. They just know what needs to be done. It's worth the exercise of looking at that. Okay, and that's what, and I learned it. And to me, that firm was so bizarre. I was like, there has to be something. Now they were doing other things. They had other financial services. They had other things that they were doing.
The inexpensive return was the gateway.
For them it was the gateway.
That was the loss.
Yeah. For them, but they do the same thing with eyeglasses now. You go in, you're talking to an optometrist for an hour. Really, it's only $99. But there's so much that place can trigger. But there's no obligation for the client to go. If somebody's like cornering you into a room and saying you got to do this, you got to do that. Most of everything we do is a la carte. But it is worth the exercise to say everything's the same, because 90% of the public is going to look at it that way. You know, but it's and I know it. Everything I do is the same thing. I'll customize something. It takes me a long time to do that for that client of mine, to actually look at the return. But when I go through a return, also my instincts are like, I'm missing something on this. And they're like, what's taking so long? I'm missing something. And I said, I could clear my schedule now and send you a bill for $1,000, or would you rather I just figured it out in the middle of the night by how? That's what I'm missing for the client. Sometimes it's instinctual. You've done so many things, you know there's something missing. You can't you can't, and you don't have the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I got 8 appointments. I can't go do that. But it is well worth that. And keep trying to do that, because it also makes it easier. It makes it predictable. So an analysis of the company is going to be X number of dollars. Who cares if you spend 4 times the amount of time? Who cares? Some are going to happen with a snap of the finger, and then hopefully it all irons out in the middle. But anybody else? What do you got?
I have a question about the education thing that you showed. 20,000 a year. Is that a fixed number, or is that
how much you can withdraw out? Currently, there's not really a limit as to what goes in. There's some things that get tied to it. You can actually put in as much. You can put in a lot. And the truth of the matter is, I could see education being somebody gets certified 6 times in their life on something. Why would why would it all be? But that's 20,000 a year. And what we have in Florida right now, and to me, it's something I've wanted. Listen, I'm from 4 generations of teachers. All right, I'm not sure any of them would, but 2 of them ran their own schools. All right, but I'm not sure any of them were into choice in education. But the point of it is that people can now, with the subsidy that goes from the state, you can go and use 529 money to pay for if there's something extra in a new private school. There's they also have a scholarship thing that's coming out now where starting, I believe it's in 27, if you gave money to a scholarship organization, $1,700, then you can take a $1,700 credit off of your taxes, and that money would be available for people to go to some of these new schools that are being formed. The thing we haven't seen to the degree that it will come is the invisible hand. It's not that change that's going to make everything great, but it's the depth and breadth of these schools that are going to be created. You haven't even seen them yet. Like they had some in Palm Harbor. My kids were like, "Gee, Pa, you got to get down here. They're having this little entrepreneurship fair." And the kids were selling things. I'm like, oh my God, that used to be child labor, it used to be, I'm telling you, the paradigms are
You
just,
have it at school now.
yeah, I mean, they're starting schools up designed around it.
Having been in education though, I have so many different perspectives on that. Because,
I ask all of everybody.
Yeah, because those kinds of things have been in place for a long time, but now when you privatize, there's a profit margin now, and much like our prisons, much like a lot of other organizations, the focus changes, and the money starts falling away from the children. So in some ways I feel sad about losing the public sector to a privatized.
I don't think it will. Now my daughter-in-law is from a family that loves the public sector, okay? And so they love it, okay? They love it. So I always discuss it with them. I actually want them to start their own schools. There's a couple of teachers there, and they're unbelievable. I said, okay, let me see if the argument is, you need one place where everybody can come together, right? Okay, and everybody can organize around something that might be good for the community, right? And you go, yes. I said, when was the last time you did that?
Mm-hmm.
And listen, that's how it's going to compete, is you're going to have that. Oh, wait, they have better access maybe to sports, maybe there's a certain social purpose that everybody in the community's got. That's going to be the competitive edge. But, and again, it's,
Maybe I should open my own school.
No, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's, I went to a place, the stuff they're doing to make sure that this sticks is just incredible. And then you take that coupled with, you can go to college at a major university for $10,000 a year. This state is like just situated. I always felt, because I've had the background that I have, I always felt like, oh my God, are we blowing it here?
You were, that's why I pulled out of education here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happening also with the younger kids. I've got younger teachers, they come in, oh, you're not getting a pension anymore. Okay, like, what the hell am I putting up with this for?
No, and the amount of control over you actually being a good teacher keeps you from being a good teacher.
Yeah, and so you mentioned like a prison thing. Well, let's say you got arrested and you were going through, and I came over to you and I said, listen, I have no idea about your family or like, what makes this person tick. Here's $20,000 a year for your prison voucher. You go select where you're going. We're not going to build this. See, nothing, here's the thing, the only way I can describe this is, there is no one size fits all anymore. It's dead.
Yeah.
The only thing might be is the data centers they're trying to create. But the thing is,
being innovative is important.
Yeah. Oh, the innovate. I mean, there's no sense there's no sense in having a centralized data center if nobody's creating anything.
Right.
And there's reasons why we have many different types of data centers nowadays. You roll back just 15 years, and it was all very specific silo designs, and they were all exactly identical. You could trade one for another. Not so much anymore. Not so much. Even in data centers.
So that's getting to be a variety, and that's going to be where you'll probably have that Section 1202 stuff kick in.
Yeah, sorry to be difficult, but I didn't fully understand. And wait before.
No, go ahead. Zoom in to 521.
First of all, what does the PC application stand for? The only thing
per child. It's per child.
Per child. I thought it's prison center.
I couldn't fit it on the
The
line.
acronyms, yeah.
Okay, so just a second, because you mentioned education and being certified and so on. But that is the kids, right? So if, for example, if I have 3 kids at school and each one of them I spend, I don't know, 15,000, something like that for their schooling, so then I can get that
Yeah,
credited.
If
So-
you've been
well,
putting it into a
I
529
think maybe he
plan.
doesn't know what a 529
You
is.
have, that's for
yeah,
taking
yeah.
out of a
Yeah,
five.
so the
That's
529 is, the purpose of it is get to it. Now listen, it's.
I don't have
you're-
529 kids.
Yeah, thank God. No, the 529 plan is just a plan you put money into. Some people start earlier, some people start later. And then what happens is, so you're making money in the market or wherever it might be, that money's accumulating. You can withdraw it for the purposes of it. It used to be 10,000 prior to the new change, and it used to not count certifications. It all had to go into, you could put it towards, it can now go to homeschooling. So any of the homeschooling program, that's another.
They call,
yes.
what is the 529?
So
So
it's like
it's
a,
like-
it's like a
It's like an
retirement plan,
IRA,
but- Yeah.
Yeah.
only if you pull the money out for education, you're.
Yeah,
So-
it's
so
only
then I
meant
don't
for
pay
It's an
education.
tax
investment
for that?
account that's
You-
limited solely to using it for education.
And that
Yes.
can include you, so when my son
Yeah.
finished up college, if there had been residual money and I wanted to go to school, I could have taken from that account
Yeah.
just the
Okay,
same.
good.
Well,
Yeah,
I can put it now, for example, I can put it this year
yes.
and use it next year, and then I don't pay tax for that.
You don't
money.
pay tax on whatever you've earned. You don't pay tax on anything so long as it's used. And they've expanded dramatically. Like if your kid's got ADHD, okay? 75% of entrepreneurs have that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to get you with Tom. As you can see, Tom Cruise has, listen, Tom Cruise has
Poster
something,
child.
right?
Oh, he's poster child ADHD.
But the thing is, they do,
A lot of things.
but that kid can now, hey, listen, go start a business over here. We got this program that allows the kid to kind of do their own thing, invent this, invent that, try it out. Doesn't always have to succeed. That would now qualify as an expense that could come out of the 529.
And if I
Now, in
recall,
addition to that, there is daycare. Daycare is, I've been asked by my CPA, how much did you spend on daycare? That also says.
Yeah, well,
That's
this
on-
is,
that's on the
now here's the
7500.
big change that's happened. The daycare remained the same, the
Yeah.
credit remained the same, but if you can do this through your own S corp, like actually, sometimes with the dependent daycare, you can't be an S corp owner. You have to figure that out, but if people can now have their salary reduced by $7,500, like an employee, and then you could pay the daycare, you're much better off doing this now under the law than you would be. So it's a way of getting more of a credit. Now, the other thing is you can employ your kid and let them pay for all their own schooling. I mean, there's ways of doing a lot of different things. I don't have a lot of people that do these things. You're perfectly capable of doing that. Another thing we got away from is, oh, you can't let little Timmy work. Like, hello? I got little Timmy sitting on the couch doing nothing. I had a client that actually had to evict their kid from the house. You know how old the
little
kid
kid
was?
sitting on the couch at
32.
21. 'cause
No, they were 50, 59.
Oh, that's funny.
And this is true. I'm telling you, if we could ever write about anything that ever happened, we'd have to
That'll be your next
this-
book. The novel.
But that's my point, is that we lost track. Like somebody's like, oh, can we write this off for the kid? I said, let the kid work in the business. Let them pay for that. Then it's all a write-off. They're not going to pay taxes on the first $12,000 or $15,000 they earn.
Mhm.
But I'm not saying do that. Like so many people have, I want to put my little daughter on as a model.
Why
Can
isn't
you
your,
show me the
why
model?
isn't your 16-year-old working there? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Why they're not working there? Because everything was a one size fits all. Dad, you love accounting. I can't stand it. I want to do marketing, right? Okay, we'll do marketing then. You know, it's not a one size. I'm telling you, nothing is one size fits all now, and that's the biggest shift that
I
I
think
see.
the big challenge is understanding, how to break it all down for yourself and your situation. And that's, every time I listen to you talk or half the other, financial peoples, I'm like, there's a lot of things going on. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you do know. And see, it's sort of like in the book, I'm like, should I put in there's so much noise.
Yeah.
Right? You have to you got to pull it out of the closet and say, look at all that noise over there. Then there's legitimate trends that are happening. That sometimes the noise and the trends can be the same thing. But you know what? It all comes down to you. It comes down, Cruz doesn't give a darn about what's happening around him. He wakes up one day, he's interested in something, and he pursues it. So you can't. There's no perfect answer to it. You just have to take a baby step on it, and that's why your own life planning is much more important than any damn trend or noise that's out there. And that's where people. I've had people come into tax appointments like this. And I'm sitting around talking, and, the person's like this, and I think I say, "What's wrong?" So they just let the hands down, and the point of it is, I'm going to talk till they talk. I don't know what the hell you're going on in your life. What am I going to? I'm going to pull something off the shelf. Hey, why don't you write off $1 million for this manufacturing plant? I'm not interested in that. Tell me what's going on. What are the things, like Cruz, that you wake up that day and know you need to do it? If you can think about it in advance, you can go through a for-profit company. If it allows you to pursue your business in a better way, that's the stuff. You can't look, there's no perfect answer. You just have to take that baby step.
Thank you.
Thank you.